Hi, Lakin. Today I'm going to be focusing on the question, although Who Are We Honoring examines the role of race and symbols through CRT and SRT. How would you do so through symbolic interactionism? And basically, this article talked about how CRT and SRT fit into describing the racist places that buildings are named after. Like certain universities have buildings named after racists and KKK leaders, and some of the administrators are downplaying that, and they're getting mixed feelings from like black students, black student athletes, um, fans that have been there forever. So boosters, they have to manage all these different people and their opinions. Or with social interactionism, it talks about how all these perceptions are different because of the interactions you have with different symbols or people. So there's just this framework that kind of like explains perceptions and how every individual can have a different perception based off of their society, their life, the people they've talked to. So, society is socially constructed based on human interpretation. So, everyone can interpret a situation very differently depending on how they view it and different interactions they've had prior to this one. So having a negative view on something probably means they've had a bad experience before. So individuals act based on meanings objects have for them, and that is basically what social interactionism is. Like Bloomer describes it as a human's experience is created, but it also is recreated throughout their lifetime. So that could either change or strengthen or weaken. So it's just important for the people in charge, like the presidents and athletic directors, to really understand um, symbolic interactionism, because they are not going to have the same experiences as a lot of their students and athletes. So when things like the naming of buildings is being brought to their attention, it's important for them to understand where these student athletes or just students that are coming to them are coming from, and the interactions they may have had prior to this to make this such a big deal for them. Like getting the name switched on a building that they have to learn in every day or they have to practice in and play in every day is very important to them. If they know that the name on this building would not have recruited them, wouldn't have wanted them at their school, someone who is a segregationist is not someone who these black students would want representing their school. So to get that name change, it's important for the people in charge to understand the feelings behind it for these students. And the article really just focuses on the CRT and SRT, which the SRT is the framework to understand how white and black oppression in the United States has been at the center of the reproduction of white wealth and power and privilege. And CRT is just that unequal and unjust distribution of power and resources. So it's very clear, like, when these student athletes or students in general are bringing these things to the president's attention, that CRT and SRT play a critical role. But in order for the president or just even boosters to understand, they need to like look into the symbolic interactionism, and that will really help them understand where these students are coming from when they're bringing these concerns forward. And in the situations we read about, like at UT Austin, like these athletes were like on strike essentially if these changes weren't made, because this was a really big deal for them. And that is something that the people need to consider. It's like, do you want to please your students and athletes or your boosters, and what's more important to them at the time? So using the symbolic interactionism to understand that will really help these presidents understand like the meaning behind